Good morning. When we started this war with Iran, I initially came on and said, as a former strategic war planner for the Department of Defense, I just didn't see where this was well planned out. I didn't see where we had the planning all the way through to phase 5 of a strategic war plan, a con plan that would go on the shelves that, according to the Weinberger doctrine, had certain attainable goals and had an end state that we were trying to achieve. All of that should have been briefed to somebody, at least to Congress, if not to the American population. But to just go in and have our president come up and say, hey, listen, we're gonna win this war in just a few days and it's gonna be over, and then the Iranian people can go forward and reestablish, we hope not being a method, of course, we hope that we'll have regime change, and as a part of that, the Iranian people will get the government they want. Well, now we're talking about the fact that, we're getting into a protracted war that's taken some time, and some of the planning and some of the things that we initially identified that we know could be a problem, which was the lack of a phase 5. And what does a phase 5 take? Well, you have to have a plan and an end state, so you go in with enough forces and the right resources to reestablish a government for these people who we have been telling the world that we're worried about, that we don't like the conditions that they're living in or the government that they're under a tyrannical government that is, willingly kill people. Well, okay, so the war starts and all that kind of stops because for a little while, Iran is busy trying to establish and reestablish where it's at with its leadership and a lot of its leaders gone. But once they figured that out, they once again started using real bullets on people that were protesting or not following what they had dictated under the rules of their government. So now we've got another problem, and we've got the Iranians really confused and also really concerned about the fact that as this goes forward, we may just say, okay, that's good enough. We've stopped your nuclear capability. We're pulling out. We've met our goals of making sure you can't attack or have any impact on us, or even more than that, Israel, and we're going home. We're going to take our toys and go home, and we're actually going to encourage the Kurds to now come in, who have been fighting in the northern region of Iran for years. We'll encourage them to go in and see what they can do to carve out a piece of Iran for themselves. So they may actually be seen as aggressors going into this, not as liberators, and that's not what we want either. But don't take it from me. Here's some other experts that we have, the media, we, the government, even at one point, have considered experts, some of their take on some of these concerns, not only about our end state, but can we even reach our end state? Who should help us with that? And do we have enough ammunition? And even greater than that, do we even have enough armed forces to reach that end state? So let's all address that now, and then we'll just have to sit back and see how today goes.
For some reason, the world expects the Iranian people to overthrow the regime alone, no outside help, while that same regime imports riot weapons and machinery, surveillance tech and cameras from China, and brings in terrorist militias from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq to brutally and mercilessly kill Iranian civilians. Someone tell me, what kind of bullshit double standard is this?
What do you think the likelihood is that we're going to see U.S. boots on the ground?
Zero.
Zero.
I mean, you might see some special operations troops mill around the neighborhood. That's eminently possible. Although I think we're a little concerned about getting them out once we put them in. But no, I just don't see any evidence for it. You've got an army that's simply too small. It's a fraction of what it was formerly in the 1990s. The Marines, again, they don't have enough men to make a dent. You would probably need somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 500 million troops. And remember that a lot of those are going to have to be part of the sustainment, the support. Then even more important, we're not really organized or trained to deal with the threat, because the threat we'd face would be very similar to what the Russians have faced and ultimately mastered in Ukraine. We're not accustomed to dealing with thousands of drones or unmanned aerial vehicles of all different types and sizes converging to attack us. And we've never had to deal with these precision guided ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. So now I think it's almost zero. Imagine you're trying to bring in ground troops and someone finds out, the Iranians will find out through satellite-based intelligence and their various operatives and their supporters in Moscow and Beijing that we're going to try and concentrate forces somewhere. It doesn't matter where you put them. Say they're going to try and come in through Haifa, although that port's in bad shape now. And then you've got to move them through Israel across Syria to get into northern Iran. Or you're going to try and penetrate the Straits of Hormuz and land at Bandar Abbas. I mean, it's all ridiculous nonsense. The missiles alone would destroy you, along with all of the unmanned systems. So I can't imagine that happening.
I'm seeing reports out of Israel that Israel wants boots on the ground, but they can't get any generals to lead it because their assessment probably matches yours, that it's a suicide mission. Can you respond to what we've been through collectively over the last week, from this is a short military operation to 4 to 5 days to 2 to 3 weeks, then it was 4 to 5 weeks. Now we're here in September. That doesn't bode very well for a successful mission that we thought would take a weekend. And now that's 7 months. So what do you make of this moving target and what it says about the status of the war that we can't see because of propaganda filters?
Well, I'm seeing some real indicators of success for us. So much success that President Trump is summoning the aerospace industry heads to meet with him in the White House, presumably to tell them our missiles and munitions have done a great job, right?
Right. High five. We're done.
Yeah.
You guys have done such an amazing job. No, not that we've spent over, $1 trillion and we're out of Tomahawk missiles and we don't have Patriot systems. Like, that's really what that meeting's about, right?
Well, I would think so about a number of things, but it's not an indicator of imminent success or that we're on the threshold of victory. America first is dead as far as this administration is concerned. This is Israel first. And the problem for all of this, as you know, is this is not just an energy story for India and other nations that depend on Gulf oil. It's a food security story. India's national security is on the line. European gas is up 50% and climbing. A global recession is no longer a forecast, it's a reality. There's no end in sight to this militarily. This is going to continue for weeks unless someone steps up, and I don't expect that to happen in the United States, and helps to broker a ceasefire and an end to the conflict. And there's no strategy. There was no planning. There was no thinking. Did President Trump call President Modi or the Prime Minister of Japan or the president of South Korea and ask them, how is this going to affect you? This is going to harm you. We need to know before we do anything. He did nothing of the kind. This is a disaster that's not just regional, it's becoming global. The Israelis just announced the mobilization of 100,000 reservists. I'm hearing that a lot of those reservists are not going to show up, and they've got to man the force that they're trying to ship into Lebanon, where they're meeting, again, resistance despite enormous bombing. I just don't see the evidence for success. And moreover, now I'm hearing from people that are saying, oh, you don't understand, Doug. The Iranians are running out of ballistic missiles. They're running out of cruise missiles. Why do you say that? Well, they haven't fired as many over the last 2 days as they did at the beginning. I said, well, obviously, they have to have targets. What have they got left to shoot at? They've already destroyed all of our bases. They've done enormous damage to the infrastructure, command and control, radars, Patriot batteries, THAAD batteries, you name it. No, you don't understand. They're running out. As soon as somebody tells me the enemy's running out and that's the reason, I tend to remember Ukraine. Oh, the Russians are running out of ammunition. They're running out of missiles. Oh, the Russians are losing. The Iranians are winning. I don't believe anything, frankly. I want to look at a different indicator. And the indicator right now, it comes in the form of insurance premiums for shipping. They have risen by 640%. Just think about that. We don't have to shut down the Straits of Hormuz right now. In other words, it doesn't have to be blocked if you're an Iranian. All you have to do is make sure that the risk that insurers have to take is too high. And that's what's happened. We have 3,200 ships sitting to go in and out of the Straits of Hormuz. Now, if you're a Russian flagged or Chinese flagged tanker, you're allowed to leave. You're allowed to come in. But if you're anybody else, you're going to be stopped. And right now, nobody wants to insure the ships. So these effects are profound. Higher oil and refined product risk premium, higher freight and war risk insurance, tighter financial conditions. And if ships and premiums stay high, Iran is achieving a strategic effect without having to win tactically. So what do you need to keep this going? More drones? Sure, some more drones, occasional missiles. And who is going to invade you? Oh, I forgot the Kurds, right? Only now we've discovered there is no Kurdish army preparing to invade. We're trying to stand one up, but the Kurds aren't that stupid. They've been down this road before with us, and we betrayed them. So, I just don't know what the outlook is, except to say I agree this could go on for many, many more weeks.